Listen to this.
You were the same person. You were the same person that said that Port Harcourt Refinery was selling PMS to Nigerians. Remember, you were the same person. You were on record. Arise TV can play a record of your interview.
I'm not
where you claim
you, please.
That Port Harcourt Refinery was working and was producing. Port Harcourt Refinery, NNPC spent $1.45 billion of Nigeria's hard-earned money and wasted the money. And where is that refinery today? It's under lock-and-key. It's like Harris. Petron lacks the moral integrity to talk about this industry. And you're talking about laws.
Excuse me,
any law that you do not do the PIA, it's not law that should be obeyed by the players in the industry, because the government is the one that makes the law. It's not Petron that makes the law. It's not Moman that makes the law. It's not Dapman that makes the law. It's not Lupeng that makes the law. It's not Pengasin that makes the law. The government makes the law. The PIA supersedes any other law that marketers have decided within themselves operates or governs the industry.
All right, gentlemen, I think...
You know, it's interesting, because if you go back in time, you see that even Bayo Ojulari, the new GCU of NNPC, has had Pengasin threaten him to shut down NNPC because of reorganization of the entity. So are we going to say that Bayo is paying workers at NNPC low wages because he came in and said we need to restructure the human resources of NNPC to be able to achieve the KPIs that the president has set for him? Dangote is reorganizing the organization. It's his company. He borrowed money to build the refinery, and he's drawn down his debts by very good management of the refinery to $3.8 billion. He still owes $3.8 billion. It's a private business. He has a right to hire and fire, and he has followed the Trade Union Act, Sections 9, 1 and 2. He's followed the ILO Convention, 87, the ILO Convention, 97 on collective bargaining and the freedom of joining unions. His position has always been consistent. Pengasin and Lupeng cannot compel the members of his company and the employees of his company to join the union if they decide not to join the union. So this desperation by Pengasin and Lupeng to have them join their union, if they say they don't want to join their union, is fishy. And it shows clearly that Pengasin and Lupeng are proxies for the marketers who realize that the game is up and that the market is transiting to a new era of refining. So this talk about forward integration, Dangote is going into distribution, has been illegal. It doesn't hold water, because the CNG trucks he brought into Nigeria, 4,000 trucks, first batch, is energy compliant, it emits less carbon, right? It's efficient to transport, it saves about 40% of transportation costs because it uses compressed natural gas. Each of those trucks has 6 workers, which means he's employing 24,000 new Nigerians and are earning 3 to 4 times what Pengasin is paying and Lupeng is paying their drivers. So I don't understand the argument of Pengasin, and it's completely out of place. It's completely out of place for Pengasin to order for its members to shut down the valves of 5 to 6 different companies that supply gas to Dangote Urea plants that at full capacity utilization brings in $2.2 billion in export earnings for Nigeria and has helped Nigeria to improve its balance of payment position and also expand its GDP. Dangote has been consequential to the expansion of Nigeria's GDP from $188 billion to $253 billion in the last 1 year. In the last 1 year that the refinery has been operational, you've not had anything like strike, you've not had anything like fuel queues, you've not had anything like sabotage. We've been witnesses to bad petrol being imported into Nigeria. NMDPRA as a regulator, as stated in the PIA, does not even have something as common as a lab to test for gasoline testing standards to ensure that the products that are brought into Nigeria aligns with the PIA on sulfur, on distillation, on density, on flash point, on cloud points. So what are we talking about?
What are the likely fallout of the directives of Pengasin on the entire energy sector, particularly if you underscore it or you try to reconcile it with NEPA 11? That's almost 40 years ago during the Babangida administration, when they shut down the entire then NEPA facilities and the whole nation was plunged into darkness.
Look, the implication of this, the Dangote produces 44 million liters of PMS on a daily basis, which is higher than Nigeria's actual daily consumption, because I don't believe the 49.6 million liters that NMDPRA claims that Nigeria consumes, if it doesn't have empirical evidence or framework to show, right? It produces about 26 million liters of diesel. It does about 14 million liters of Jet A1. In the last 3 weeks, Dangote, for the first time in the history of Nigeria, as a country, exported refined petroleum products of 30 to 6 ppm sulfur to the United States of America. Dangote is one of the biggest suppliers of Jet A1 to Europe today. So if you stop the supply of crude, that he buys in US dollar, by the way. Dangote pays $3.50 premium to buy Nigerian grade crude. For Bonga crude that he buys, for example, he pays a premium of $3.50 because NUPRC boss, he was here earlier on the show and he was talking about domestic crude supply obligations and Naira-based crude swap. Dangote is not getting crude allocation in Naira. Okay? He pays a premium to buy Nigerian crude because the operators give the crude to third-party traders to sell to him. So if you stop the supply of crude, what's going to happen is that he's going to have to reorganize and go to the export to the foreign exchange market, to the foreign markets to buy crude into Nigeria, for which he spends $9 million every month for shipping costs alone, and the cost of payments to MP and IMASA to import crude into Nigeria, which means that the FX that he sells from exporting things like petrol, jet A1, diesel, carbon black, residual fuel oil, polypropylene crystals, urea, he uses that same FX, most of it, to buy crude back to Nigeria. It's an anomaly that after 57 years of Nigeria having an oil and gas industry, in 2025, Dangote is having to import 10 million barrels of crude oil monthly and then export the refined petroleum products because there's been a constituted gang up against him. And then marketers are importing substandard petroleum products into Nigeria and then exporting Nigerian crude abroad. Nigeria is a case of, if they tell you Nigeria and you understand it the first time, they didn't explain it well to you. It doesn't make any sense. And I don't know what the president is doing. Why the Minister of Finance, the Minister of Petroleum, right, Mr. President has not made any comments on this, because this is a threat to Nigeria's national security.